Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Strawberry Hill Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Simmons, and of course, we were here at the Shop Cigar Lounge. Like I say, every single time, if you haven't been here, come down and see us. We got music on the weekends. We got a chill spot. Just come down and see us. Before I get started, make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Follow us on Instagram, Strawberry Hill Podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Mike on the Mic, and you can catch all of our podcasts on YouTube. So let's get started. Something I've been interested about for a long time, and we've met last year in February.
Almost 2 years ago now.
Mitch Alexander, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. But we're going to do a little intro of you. So you are the manager, or you run?
The director of retail for Relief Resources Dispensary. We're one of the only locally owned stores in Kansas City. We're actually one of the busiest in the entire state right now.
I bet.
As far as just volume of people coming in. And then I also own and operate a micro wholesale company here in Missouri, just outside of the city, called Tango Hotel Charlie. We are
Tango Hotel
Charlie. Yeah.
THC. Look
exactly,
at that.
Yeah. Nice. My partner is a combat veteran, and so it was a perfect fitting when we came together to apply for this. But we actually just got approved to start our build out an hour ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So you got good news.
Yeah, just got out of the courthouse not too long ago, and we are going to be starting to build out this month. We're doing 100% organic, greenhouse-grown cannabis, and we're doing solventless extraction methods, so clean quality cannabis is what we're going to be doing with that.
Awesome,
but that's going to be, like I said, we just got approved to build today, so that's going to be coming very soon. I'm just trying to take over Missouri cannabis. Really,
that's brand new for you. That's cool, though.
Yeah, it's been actually it happened. I got the license a year ago, but more or less we've been playing politician the last year with county and regulations and
I know that feeling. Yeah,
I wanted to let everybody know I met Mitch back when I was doing security at Relief.
That was 2021. January of 21.
It was, wasn't it? Wow, thanks for throwing that out there.
It's been a few years, Dave.
It has been. But I wanted to let you know, Michael. Michael and I started off in our relationship in the training division and the sheriff's office. That's how we met. And I started to get the same kind of vibes and feelings with you when I first met you when you came on to Relief. Our relationship was growing. So Michael and everybody else, this fella here is how I feel towards Michael, and in the beginning, and our relationship grew.
That's an honor. Together, he talked about you every freaking day.
Yeah. Dave you don't have to expose my love for this man. Come on, man. Jeez.
Dave, I always tell people, Dave is my father figure, my best friend, my mentor, and my brother all wrapped in one. Well, I said father, brother, best friend, mentor. Exactly. That wraps them all.
Just for my sake, just take the father part out. Everything.
Young father. You had me at the age of 13.
There you go. Oh, there you go.
That's even better. Yes. You are.
Yeah.
Lord.
Yeah.
So you guys have known each other for how long?
About 3 years now. A little over almost 4 years.
Yeah.
I was 22 and I started in. Well, I remember he had started, the company was brand new. My first day was 30 days into from conception, and Dave was already working there for that month. But I remember my first week when I came in, we had a leadership change that first week. And it was like my second shift ever. And Dave pulls me to the side before I go, and he's like, it's kind of a shit show right now. Just stay calm and do your thing, and you're going to be just fine. And
And he did.
And I did.
And look at him now.
Yeah, I was a part-time bud tender working evening shifts then. And at some point, I dedicated my life to it when I was younger, and that was my entry. And I finally, the company, Relief Resources, they made me an offer. I left my own family business to go with them full-time.
So what was your family business?
I owned in Crown Center. We owned the Best of Kansas City, which is we're actually the oldest tenant in Crown Center. But we got everything Kansas City Souvenir Shop. And then we also own the Westin and Sheridan Hotel gift shops that are attached to it. So I was doing that. Yeah. I dropped out of school. I was 18 and running those businesses with my mom, and doing bud tending. It was the perfect timing, of me being of age and the industry starting out. So I started part-time bud tending in the evenings and just dedicated my life to it. And now it's everything that I do.
Well, I could easily see you working at your dad's shop, right? Your dad and mom's, most of your dad's. that really developed your customer service. Because when I
100%.
first met you, man, I could just see that the way you were talking to the patients that would come in front of you.
My
That's
parents
what I
taught me
admire
everything about
Yeah.
business. Yeah, like I did before the dispensary. I was, like I said, I mean, I've worked there my whole life, but I was full time working there at 18. But my entire life, all I saw was customer forward service.
Yeah.
So that's just
It's the biggest thing is customer service when you have a business, because you got to keep people coming back, and
You do.
You want to be a place where people feel comfortable
your
coming
people,
in.
your customers are the reason for your business, not the other way around.
Yeah,
We
100%.
talk about it in here all the
Yeah.
time. There's a lot of places you can get a cigar. A lot of places you can get a cup of coffee. A lot of places you can do the same thing. It's all the person that you're buying that stuff from. It's the service, and really picked up on that. You know, that's the one thing that I admired about that mom and pop shop. You know,
Well,
Doug
like I
and
said,
Mirta
because we're that family-owned business, there's not really another focus. We're not corporate cannabis, and we can't act like that. So.
yeah, you
So
guys
how-
are nailing it.
How did you get into the business?
When I was a teenager, obviously, you know, smoking weed for fun, and I remember my first time that I was ever got high. My best friend and future roommate at the time, he gave me a brownie and didn't tell me. Just hey, I made some brownies.
Jesus.
And
He didn't even warn you?
No,
This is
he
your
didn't.
first time?
It was my first time, and he's my best friend. I knew that he had smoked weed and everything, and it wasn't my thing. But he just gave it to me one day. I didn't think any the wiser, and took it, and I was like, I got stoned.
Oh, yeah.
But I remembered sitting in that basement with him. We were playing video games and everything, and I'm like, so this is being high. This is marijuana. I'm like, I have been lied to my entire life about it.
Yeah.
And just kind of did a lot of, during my early teenage years, did a lot of self-learning and research. And right about the time that I was getting ready to graduate high school, the hemp pilot program launched. So we were growing hemp for crop studies, really, to see how we
So
could
that
regulate
came out before
2018,
it was legal?
I think it was. Yeah, before cannabis, medical marijuana was legal. Yeah, we had the hemp pilot
So they
program.
just allowed people to grow?
Yeah, it was hemp. It was you had to have certain licenses to do it. But I was with a group that we were growing hemp in greenhouses in Brookfield and Lexington and just in several different towns throughout the state. And we would sell it in storefronts here. We actually had a successful storefront franchise where there's about 9 stores here in town at our height, and we had franchised into about 10 states total, including Texas, Virginia, Wisconsin. Like we were kind of all over. But when medical marijuana passed here, we had applied for licenseship and didn't get anything. We lost everything on that. So the company kind of went under a bit, but at that same exact time is when I started on it, really. So it was a kind of perfect transition from, hey, this is brand new, up and coming, to this is now solidified, and here's your first step.
Yeah, you jumped in like big time.
I was still a teenager when I started,
So you talked about you applied for your license and stuff, and they declined you. So how
during that
tough
first
is that?
round, it was weird. No one really knew what to expect or what was going to come with it. Still, even to this day, that was back in 2018, and to this day, there's still, appeals with the state happening over that license decline. Lots of companies are still in that appeal process. So it was very tricky and foggy slope. Like I said, no one really knew what to expect with it. All we knew was that the state had the power to say yes or no, kind of a thing.
So you guys are kind of under just like the state's just.
Oh, I'm under
like no matter what they.
The only square inch of my store or my farm that's not under 2 camera views, is the bathroom. There's quite literally more regulations on cannabis than there are on death row inmates right now.
That is crazy.
It's crazy. It's tracked seed to sale. So from the time it's literally either a seed or a seedling, depending on the cultivator, they'll assign that specific plant a tag, and that tag follows it all the way to harvest. And when they harvest the flower, they'll take the flower and either sell it outright, or they'll send it to a manufacturer and turn it into oil. That tag will still follow it through that oil phase, and it'll follow it to the dispensary all the way into the customer's bag. Once I check out that customer, that's when the tag ends. It's seed to sale. The state tracks it. Once it's in the customer's hands and it's been legally bought and sold, it's out of the state's hands then. So everything from, like I said, from the beginning of the cannabis plant's life to the time that I take your money, it is.
It's crazy how many regulations and monitoring it is on it. And I get it, and it's just because it's still new. Like I'm sure Colorado probably does the same thing, but it's one of those things where
states are the same way.
Like they're just kind of like I think as soon as every state kind of passes it, they'll be hopefully more lax on it. Because it's like, I don't understand. This is just the cop in me, because like I that's why I'm so interested in this stuff, because I'll say, I like your story, like you weren't into it, I wasn't into it either, right? And then I retired and I got out and I tried it, and I was like, holy shit, this is what I've been missing this whole time.
Lied to about it.
Yeah, yeah,
exactly.
And it was kind of always that thing, like being a cop and stuff. People, most cops knew, like, oh, this is just, it's not really a drug. It's like, I would rather deal with someone that's really high on marijuana than really drunk.
Oh, absolutely. Any day.
Yeah, and I think anyone that is in law enforcement or fire would say the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those drugs. I even hate calling it a drug, because it's not like it.
Honestly, it's becoming less of a drug.
Yeah.
Especially as we get more recreational. I mean, in a recent study, I think it was 60% of Americans admitted to smoking weed in the last 30 days, which means more Americans are smoking weed than not smoking weed nowadays. So it almost is becoming like a new norm.
Yeah.
Like it should be.
Yeah. And I know I had problems dealing with my PTSD at the sheriff's office. And then once I tried like THC, like helping me sleep and 100%. Just relax, I'm like, this is phenomenal. I don't use it every day, but it's like when if I'm having a bad day or if I'm having bad sleep, like I use it and it kind of just puts me in a great mood. I hear stories like that every day, and that's the exact reason why it's pushed me so far into this. I mean, I get, especially at our dispensary, like I said, we're one of the busiest in the state, and we see every single walk of life that you could possibly imagine comes through those doors. You've seen it.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's everyone from the grandma to the middle-aged housewife and everything in between. I mean,
well, my job when I was there, I was the security. I was the doorman. I greeted everybody in the lobby, and I loved doing that. And I met people, like you said, from the stereotypical stoner, you'd say, to the grandma. And that's when I fell in love with the whole idea of like microdosing. I started paying attention to the terpenes and this and that, because there was that dialysis place up the street
right
from
up
you.
the other side of the parking lot.
Yeah, and they would have patients coming that just finished dialysis.
Yep.
And I would talk to them, because I would always talk to them for like 2 to 3 minutes, because they would wait in line with me. And one lady told me, she was a 70-some-year-old lady, she goes, I take gummies to help my stomach with the nausea, and I smoke flour to eat so I can get hungry. 100%. And I was like, wow, that's survival. Yeah. And my whole thoughts on a lot of that's changed. Yeah. And I started to recognize it in a whole nother way.
And that was when cannabis was still a nuance to Missourians. So, I mean, that was still when people were scared to put their name on a medical card because they didn't want any kind of, tracking on it, which I still to this day 100% understand. But back then, when it was that new and that, unknown to the people,
well, it
was a different time.
100%. They were kind of concerned what their neighbors were going to think.
Exactly. Yeah. People were worried if your neighbor smokes with,
Yeah. And I'm even doing these things, here we are talking about it, but when I went to work there, I quickly learned of a lot of my family, friends, peers, coworkers that did it too. Because, I'm working in a place. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, hey. And I'm starting to learn a lot of people do it. And heck, I ended up one of Wyco legend. You know whom? Wyco legend. His daughter played on my basketball team. Yeah. And I wish I would have harassed him when I was in the stands. But so shout out if you're watching this.
Wyco legend.
Yeah.
We're not saying his name.
Well,
no, you don't have to.
No, I mean that's his Instagram. You can go ahead and say if you want.
Shout out to Tim.
He works for. Is it Timeless?
Yeah.
Timeless is a distributor, a manufacturer.
Yeah, there's some of the.
And I started paying attention.
For sure.
Yeah, I started paying attention to them because they sponsor the Comets. Kansas City Comets. Shout out Nito.
That's right. Comets are awesome. Go to Comets games, get your tickets.
And that's how I saw Wyco Legends always liking everything. And I was like,
absolutely.
And I put it all together, and I was like, oh, he's a Bonner guy.
Yeah.
So we're all over the place, those Bonner kids.
So I got like a lot of myths I have to like ask you about to see if they're true or not.
Let's hear it. I'm ready.
Yeah. So I guess, like, if someone wanted to open up, like, if they knew that, like, Missouri, they were going to pass it, it's like, is it one of those things where, because you guys had to be ready day one, right? So, like, say if Kansas is going to pass it someday, soon. Do you have to start the process of opening a shop like years before?
No, not at all. I wouldn't at all recommend that either. It's kind of like with my micro side of things where, like, for example, when it's going to be more or less a lottery system for who gets a license. You can apply, and then they'll put your application in a lottery and pull it. Like, quite literally, the Missouri lottery pulled my number for my farm and manufacturing, right?
So is that with like the stores too, like Relief and all that stuff?
Yeah.
So you have no clue, even if you're going to be open.
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. So, like, for example, with my application on my micro license, the address on my micro license is actually the suite that's next door to Relief Resources. Doug just let me use that because you have to have an address to put on for the application, and so we just put that suite that's actually now my office is where that suite is. But that's the license. That's the address on my license right now. And now that we finally got our land secured and we're approved to build, we can now legally change it with the states. But I would 100% recommend not.
So
anything built out until you have a license.
That's crazy. I didn't know there was a lottery system.
Lots of money, lots of time, and lots of energy for nothing. Then.
Yeah, because I was thinking like I was thinking that anybody could just open.
Nope, not at all. Nope, especially
that makes more sense now.
Yeah, there's lots and lots of very stringent qualifications. Like for this original round in 2018, what started as medical, they're now called comprehensive licenses. Those guys, like you had to have a net worth minimum. You had to have, there's a bunch of different qualifications to even be eligible to apply. In the same way with this micro side that just happened this past year, this is like the social equity license.
Yeah.
So there's several qualifications. Like, for example, like my partner, he's a disabled combat veteran. So that's one of the qualifications. If you've had a nonviolent, expungible cannabis offense, if you live in a impoverished area or a higher historical rate of incarceration area, there's certain zip codes that qualify you as well. But it's not just, anybody can just apply. You have to meet certain qualifications to apply.
I did not know that. That makes more sense.
State controls everything.
Yeah, I was saying because not just anyone can just open up a store, because then you'd probably be seeing them everywhere.
Yeah, well, and that's part of the reason why you'll see a lot of these smoke shops and CBD stores marketing themselves as dispensaries when it's not. Dispensaries are very much regulated, and anybody can walk into a store and know the difference between an actual licensed dispensary versus like an unregulated hemp CBD shop that's selling THCA flower.
Yeah. So can anyone open like
one of those? Yeah. And there's no regulations on that except for this past few days ago. Actually, Governor Parsons put in an executive order that kind of more or less bans the sale of those intoxicating, non-regulated cannabinoids like that.
Delta.
They said like Deltas, the Delta exactly.
I thought I saw that post. Yeah.
There's going to be some new, regulations on those coming soon, but for the time being, there's an executive order that bans it. So,
is that because too many people are getting into the business and they're not being as safe as that?
I think it's the latter part. It's just not very safe. Exactly. There's no regulation on it. Yeah. They don't have to follow the same rules that I do as far as exact dosage on the product. They don't even have to tell you what's in the product. Yeah. I've seen a lot of times they'll sell you flour and it's like mystery bundle. It's just a very, very lucrative business that can lead to a lot of backdoor dealings that the state doesn't want. They're just going to get ahead of it.
Yeah. So let's say you win the lottery. Now you get to open up a shop. So you find your storefront, you do all that stuff. So from there, where are you going then? Like, because now you have to buy product.
Yeah. Okay. So you got your storefront. You're ready to open up shop. Essentially, you just need to buy product. That's your relationship building phase. You need to get a hold of every licensed cultivator.
But it has to be in the state of Missouri.
It has to be in the state of Missouri.
And is that how every state operates too?
Most states have. Yeah, there's not very much interstate commerce. I can't say the same for like Washington and Oregon, but I know for like every legal state, it's going to be single. There's not interstate commerce.
Is that just because they just want to keep the money in the
not
state?
Only that, but it's also federal regulation too. When you cross state lines, it does become a federal issue. So. With the descheduling coming along, you could very well. I mean, we'll see interstate commerce in our lifetime for sure. But with rescheduling, it could be sooner than later.
Yeah, I could see where they'd have a lot more control on the soil, the growing, because it's in their own state, right?
Well, it's not even that. It's just it's a regulated product at the end of the day. So if the federal government doesn't have control over it, the state does. And Kansas and Missouri got totally different laws. So it's more of just
come on, Kansas.
Yeah,
So,
come on, Kansas.
And so when you talk about it's a regulated product, do they look at it as a product as in like a drug, like an FDA thing, or they look at it as more as like a plant, like a food thing?
On the regulation side, it's definitely considered more of like a drug. On like the social economic side, it's definitely more considered a plant.
Yeah.
But for regulation purposes, you can't really regulate a culture as much as you can, something tangible. So it's definitely seen more as like a pharmaceutical, more or less in this state.
I'm glad I'm talking to you. You know your shit, man.
Yeah, I really do, man. I've not only, like I said, I've been in Missouri specific industry for years now. I'm a certified sommelier of cannabis too.
That's awesome.
I'm one of about 300 in the world. We're certified ganjiers. Yeah,
that's
cool.
Awesome to know.
That's really cool.
That was a really, really cool experience.
Yeah,
but, I live.
Well, you got to tell me about that process.
That was cool. That's literally it's cannabis school. It's an
you
online.
had to like travel from
I had to go out to Humboldt. And it was great. I cannot wait to go back.
Wait, Humboldt,
California. Humboldt
I was
County.
Like, there's a Kansas Humboldt.
No, Humboldt County, California. Yep.
So it's a yearly thing, couple every few years.
It's just it's continued education. So like every couple of years, I have to go back out and do recertification kind of a thing. Which it's awesome. I will say it's definitely one of the hardest things I've done in cannabis was that Ganjier certification. That certification, it more or less teaches and shows what quality is in cannabis, versus what it's more about quality driven. So they teach you what is quality cannabis, how to define it, where to find it, those kinds of things. And like for example, part of the final, like you have to go out to California to complete this, but part of the final is. Like for example, if I have 6 of my instructors there on campus that week, they'll take the same sample of flower and they'll blindly assess it, right? And the assessments have, probably it's 4 different categories with like 10 different subcategories in each one, right? And the scaling goes from 1 to 10 with the 10th decimal place, right? So for example, if they're going to rate the maturity of this flower at 6.8, right? As a student, I have to take that exact same blind sample, and I have a 1-point variance. So that means I can score between a 5.8 and a 7.8, but not outside their window. And these guys are world-leading experts that are the instructors. And so they've seen everything. They know everything. So if you have to score within their window, you get 1 mistake, you don't get 2.
So what exactly are you scoring it off of?
So here I can show you, man. I got it on it's a little app on my phone, actually. We go through the aroma, the appearance, the flavor, the effects, and then each one of those categories has like 10 subcategories within it that we have to score.
Oh my Lord!
Yeah.
So as you're smoking it, you're taking notes. And you're writing down what it tastes like on your palate, just like cigars.
Yeah, 100%.
There's no way I could do that. It'd be like 10 minutes in. I'm like,
let me tell you the hardest part that it was.
I'd have a good time doing that.
There's 2 samples and. Especially with tobacco and cannabis, once you smoke, your palate's kind of tainted for a couple of hours, right? You have to take a flower sample, assess it, smoke it, and then turn around and do it again right there. And you have to accurately assess that second sample with kind of a tainted palate. It's incredibly difficult. You get some water or something.
Rinse off that flavor.
There's some palate cleansers that you can, like some natural palate cleansers. You can like coffee beans, for example. Smelling coffee can... But it's just, it's an extremely difficult thing. I mean, only about 50 to 60% of people pass the course every year.
That's impressive. Good for you, Mitch.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, no, it was a lot of stuff. Like I said, it's about a year and a half of online schooling before you can even go out there for your testing. But they work with, small EA programs. They work with Cicerone programs. Like this is an actual trade certification. So, technically I could go to a courthouse and testify as a cannabis expert.
As an expert witness, absolutely.
Yeah.
That might be a new little thing. Expert witnesses make a couple of bucks.
Yeah, you hear that, Casey Mo?
Come on, Cannabis.
I'm here.
Amazon. You don't want to go to court. It's a pain in the ass.
I don't want to go to court.
Yeah.
So I've been to enough courthouses in the last year with this whole license that I got. I'm cool on politics right now.
So another thing I wanted to ask is like the money behind the stores, because like I said, I don't know if this is a myth or not. Like, so the money, so it's state regulated, right? And federally regulated. But is it true that you cannot put the money you get from a dispensary into a bank? because it's not federally insured?
Yes and no. It's on the surface, yes, banking is very limited for cannabis. However, it's not though. We bank. I have 2 different banks for the dispensary. We got a bank for the dispensary. I got a bank for my cultivation. Banks are cannabis friendly here in Missouri. It's just entirely dependent on the specific bank. It's not. Yeah, we can bank. We can bank. There's lots of restrictions on it still. It's not just like, we're opening up just any other checking account. There's lots of restrictions, and your bank does have to work with you. Like, I'm sure that we're getting charged a little bit of an extra rate because of it. But we can bank. And
that's what I still don't understand about THC. And I know it's new and stuff, but why there's so many regulations and hurdles for THC when alcohol is worse, in my opinion.
I think it goes back to the federal side.
Yes.
With the federal regulation, they have a little bit more of that overview, whereas the state, the way that I look at it is the state has to answer to the federal government.
Yeah.
And if they can't, for example, like Oklahoma's kind of a mess with theirs, and the federal government didn't have to get involved, but Missouri doesn't want to get to the point where they have to ask mom and dad for help with their project, So the state of Missouri is one of the more stringent ones in the union for cannabis regulations. So it's very uptight, but I think it's the difference between like alcohol and cannabis regulations is because the federal government has a little bit more of a purview over it, and because of the amount of scientific studies that have been published and about alcohol and alcohol use and how it affects us. We don't necessarily have that on the cannabis side yet. It's just it's been so regulated and so illegal for so long that there's not really an opportunity to do it until recently. So I think as we get more and more scientific studies and more just research about cannabis and how it affects us more, it's going to be kind of like a gray area as far as that goes. But in the state of Missouri, though, by law, it can't be more regulated than alcohol or tobacco.
It can't be?
That's what the Constitution says. Yeah.
Once it went rec, though, right?
And that's just, that's new. Like, they could have changed it, and they just didn't.
Yeah.
Well, what's that show? It's Snoop Dogg, I think, maybe promoted or public. Grass is Greener. The documentary about when the laws started coming back.
I haven't seen it.
Really? I'm a little disappointed.
Listen, here's my thing is I don't watch a lot of TV, I'll be honest.
Understood. Fair enough.
Yeah, you're working all the time.
I'm working a lot. Not only that, like if I'm watching something, it's like I'm putting on like stand-up comedy on YouTube as a pack. Yeah, exactly. I don't watch TV very much.
The documentary was basically just telling the story of when marijuana came in and how the music industry really adopted
it for sure.
Yeah, but then children of people that were in politics or government didn't like what it was doing, and they were a little afraid of the unknown, and they were ignorant, and they start seeing how it was growing, and they started putting laws on it. And heck, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, isn't it still a class against the law wise?
Schedule 1 still,
right? With like crystal meth and cocaine.
It's considered, in this federal law, it's no medicinal value whatsoever. It is a Schedule 1 narcotic.
See, that's insane. That is totally insane. That is that level of a crime.
Well, and we're getting to the point now, there's enough legalized states that here, sooner or later, there's going to be a forced constitutional change.
I agree.
Yeah, there's
I think
have to be.
2/3 of the union passes the same law, or it's got to go to a federal vote.
I really believe most of those people that believe so against it are growing up, they're learning, and the younger generation, they're like, it's not
I feel
that
like
big
in
of
the
a
next
thing here.
10, 15, 20 years, I think it's all going to be passed because, like you said, like the younger generation's coming up. A lot of your old heads are getting out of the politics, and then I think
it's
younger,
very progressive.
the younger generation and a lot of people are seeing benefits in the lucrative, the lucrative amount of money that comes into the state.
Yeah,
like in Kansas, on one hand, you can see that like. They had I don't think they had a choice, but they chose gambling, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they got the big boost from that. But then you see Missouri, and you got a big boost from that.
I mean, I don't know what Kansas. I know Kansas has gambling. I know it's been huge. I don't know how big, but like in Missouri's cannabis industry, we're a multi-billion-dollar industry already.
Yeah.
And
I know that.
That's nice.
It's incredible.
Yeah. So what do you think it's going to take for a state like Kansas to legalize it?
just based on Kansas's track record, I wouldn't put
10, 15 years
I wouldn't
later?
put past Kansas to wait until federal legalization before they adopt anything. I wouldn't put it past them. And I only say that just because year after year, the House will get a cannabis proposition and just vote it down immediately. You know,
Yes.
a lot of Kansas lawmakers are not ready to take that leap yet.
Is it Kansas Norm? Is that the lobbyists that try? Is that what they call themselves?
Normal, is that what you're thinking of?
Maybe.
NORML. Yeah,
think so.
that's a national cannabis reform organization. They're very instrumental in Missouri's passing.
okay.
And
So
I know
they're
that
for it.
there's-
I got you.
Oh yeah, Normal is they're a national organization that changed. They're for the reform of cannabis laws.
And I think that they're in Kansas and Topeka.
Oh yeah,
pretty heavily.
they have chapters in Kansas, 100%.
Yeah,
So
and
they're
I've known
doing
a few politicians I've talked to have asked me, even like recently and when I was a police officer, just kind of like, hey, we're talking about it, at the House, and we're just kind of wondering, your thoughts and what law enforcement's thoughts. And I always tell them, like, man, we don't care. It's like legalize it to make it easier.
I can tell you,
both
like,
parties.
so my dispensary's in Grandview, just south of the city, and I can tell you, like, the police department, they love us.
Yes.
We're making their jobs easier. They're not having to deal with shit on the street when everything is done through us now.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of benefits as far as law enforcement goes and the safety of the public goes with that. Again, it's like, not to advocate for all drugs, but when you put a regulated, safe product out, it eliminates the need to go, and especially with a competitive market like Missouri is, it eliminates the need to go to the streets to buy it.
Yeah.
So you're getting a safe product.
Yeah, you're getting something that's quality control.
100%.
You're getting something that's regulated.
Yeah, my products go through 4 or 5 layers of state testing before it even gets to my back door to receive it. So it's a safe product compared to buying it on the streets.
Yeah. I remember in the lobby we would have these old school smokers, old school hippie smokers, whatever you want to call them. They would be so upset with the price and this and that. And then they would always talk, oh, back in my day, the weed was better, it was stronger. And then over a period of time, those same people, man, they would always be, man, this is some good stuff. They would finally understand and learn. And it's all about educating.
Yeah,
it's all about the education.
One thing that is very true. I don't know if you're going to ask this, but it's very true that cannabis is immensely more powerful than it was.
I was going to ask
30
that.
years ago.
Absolutely.
You think it's because of, I think more scientists are getting into it and it's being more grown properly?
I actually had a conversation with my stepdad about this the other day. The way that I like to describe it is, if you're out in the country, you're driving by a field, right, a field of corn. Every single stalk in that field is that exact same uniform, 6 foot, 7, whatever it is. It's the entire field is uniform. Okay, that is through selective breeding. And that's where cannabis is at. We have selectively bred the the plant's lifespan is about 6 to 8 months, and so through the amount of legalization we've had, we've been able to breed cannabis and selectively breed it for specific traits like higher potency or color, for example. And we're getting to that same point where pretty soon, in our lifetime, cannabis is going to be very much like polyhybrids. Everything's going to be very similar to itself. But I like to describe it's like a cornfield. It's completely uniform through selective breeding. And as we've been breeding cannabis over the last 30 to 40 years now, we've been going for higher potencies. So we're only keeping plants that are, producing desirable traits.
Yeah.
And that's just why it's just getting stronger and stronger, and everything is a much higher quality than it was 30 years ago,
Yeah, that's stronger potency. I'm like 5 milli mic, so I can't do anything more than 5.
I get it.
I've seen him do more than that, and it's all comedy for me.
Edibles are not my friend as much anymore.
Yeah.
I actually prefer
edibles tend to teach me lessons a lot of the time, so
I'd rather feel it just a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Than smoke it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take edibles more at nighttime more than anything.
Yeah, that's exactly, because
daytime I might be a little intoxicated with an edible. I'm a smoker. I am a smoker.
Oh no, I gotcha. So speaking of that too, so something like this, there's a cigar lounge, people kind of come, chill, relax. Do you think that will ever happen in Missouri or the States?
It's already happening.
Because
cannabis lounges, 100%, that's already happening.
Is it happening in Missouri yet?
Yeah. There's a couple here in Kansas City. We're actually opening up one right next door to Relief.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. That's actually happening very soon.
is something I would love to. That's cool.
Yeah, it's our plans are. I'm really, really excited for that. Relief is really kind of taking a step into the culture side of things. I don't know if you saw, we got some of the most expensive bongs in the world in our store right now.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We basically we just kind of wanted to have the high end pieces, and so we found the highest end glass artist out there. His name's Banjo. He is quite literally known and world famous for creating the world's most expensive and intricate and most artistic bongs and pieces out there.
He came to your shop not too long ago, right?
He hand delivered the pieces on 710 for us. It was great. Cool. He's a really cool guy. Him and his son and his partner, we got to hang out with them, and great people. I mean, great freaking people. But literally, he's known for creating the most expensive pieces in the world, and we decided that we needed to have some. So we pulled the trigger and got 3 very, very expensive. Like, I'm talking, one of them's not one of us. Oh, I'm talking like 20, 40, $80,000 pieces.
That wasn't like the bong in your room, was it?
For a bong, yeah. Yeah, like literally more expensive than 4
made of crystal and gold?
They were sweet looking, the photos I saw.
They are. They're very
beautiful.
2 of them are, well, they're all custom made. They're all handmade one of ones, but one of them we wanted a Kansas City kind of like themed one, so we did like a Chiefs themed one. So it's like red, orange. It's got that kind of colorway. Yeah. And then we have like the Indian headdress, like with, I'll show you a picture, but it's got an Indian headdress, and then the base of it is glass arrowheads. Oh, so it stands sweet. Like the feet of it as glass arrowheads. But
you sold any yet?
That one's not for sale. That one, Doug, the owner, that is his personal piece. I
could see. He's an Eagle guy. Yeah, so I could see that.
If there's a buyer out there, come talk. It is for sale, but it's not for sale.
Yeah, for the right price.
The right price, it's for sale. Exactly. But no, we really took a step towards that culture side. So getting those glass pieces and then opening up this lounge next door. That's going to be. I'm really excited about it. I can't speak too much about what we're going to do to it, but I can say it's coming soon. Cool. And we're excited to really bring people a safe place to consume cannabis, because especially in Grandview, we're 3 miles from the state line. So we do see a lot of this Kansas overflow traffic in our store. It's still technically not legal to use cannabis in Kansas. So if we can provide them a safe place to consume,
absolutely.
And that's kind of the goal, is we just want to kind of, again, some way to give back to the people and to the community.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I get a phone call asking if we're 420 friendly. Like, hey, are you guys 420 friendly? I'm like, buddy, I wish we were, but we're in Kansas, so you got to go to Missouri.
Right.
We are friends of the leaf, but you got to certain leaves.
So tell me about, we've talked about a lot of pros about it. So tell me about like kind of like the hurdles you have to take, other than the regulations and stuff, but like, not the bad side of it, but like the hiccups that you always have to deal with, because you just dealt with one.
Yeah, I was saying before we even talk, it kind of goes back to the regulations, like hold products, for example. Missouri's not new to that. Last year we had $10 million worth of product that had to be pulled off dispensary shelves because of one thing or another with state regulations, and it's kind of happening. It's not as big this year, but there's 10 minutes ago I got an email about, I got to pull, X amount of products. So these specific products have to come off my shelf for the time being while the state's
So they have to be destroyed, or just be held?
No, it doesn't have to be destroyed. What I would do is, for example, in this instance, like I'll take the product, if I have it, I'll take it off my shelf and we'll put it in on the computer side, on the regulator side, we'll put it in a quarantine room so it can't be sold through our point of sale. And then we'll put it into a designated quarantine storage area of the store, of our vault. And wait for the state to give us word, because a lot of the times, like this past hold, we've already had products come off it. Like the state saw something, they investigated it, determined it wasn't an issue, and then the product's now good to be sold again. It's just more of like a public safety issue kind of a thing. But products on hold, that's been a big one here recently for sure. A lot of the bigger ones too is I get a lot of customers that come in and they're like, your dispensary is so different because you guys actually talk to us about what the product is.
Yeah.
Like, you're going through that strain, and that strain, where and you can go to most dispensaries, they're just going to kind of give you the, what do you want treatment? Like, hey, we're selling weed. What do you want?
That's the one thing that I loved about working there at Relief. Everybody that was behind the counter, did their best to educate the person back there.
Yeah.
And I loved that about that. And I loved it when, earlier you were talking about new management coming on board, and that was Mirta came on.
That's right.
Love that woman. She was
La Madrina.
and she was very I gained a lot of good relationships out of that place, and she's the one I really truly other than you, Mitch. I miss working with her because
takes the cake.
Man, you betcha. When I first met her and I, there was a guy that I'm sorry getting off topic here, but there was some promotion, and this one kid who probably could have been on my soccer team. That's a nice way of saying that he would have been on my Special Olympics team, but he would have been on my soccer team. Well, I can't remember what drink it was, but it was like 100-some milligrams. It was a lot. It was
then he drank it
a lot, and he drank it. Yes,
I remember that.
He
tried
there?
to.
No.
Oh.
So what happened was it was kind of like this. It was with a previous leadership. They were doing a podcast. I think is what it was.
Yeah,
it was kind of like this, but the crew. This was when cannabis was still new. So the crew decided they wanted to try an edible. So they bought sodas. And then they left and went and drank them and came back all stony baloney. And one of the kids
and he just tried to keep up.
Yeah,
the kid, I don't think he normally
none of them
did
should
that.
have done that. But once they leave, I can't tell them what to do. But they come back to film their podcast, and the kid is just.
Well, he was weebly wobbly the whole time they were doing the video, and Mirta was there, and I was like, hey, Mirta. Well, he ended up losing everything in the bathroom. But I gained respect for her,
and the walls for us
very much. Well, she didn't even miss a beat. I told her that he threw up in there. She just gave me that "you're fucking look, kidding" look. That look. You can read it, but she didn't. She went right in there and helped clean up. Her and I cleaned that whole mess up, and I was like, "Damn."
I'll tell you what.
She stepped up.
And
that was the day I learned that I'd work with her anywhere.
Oh, listen, Mirta to this day is still working more hours than any hourly employee.
I totally believe that. Totally believe that.
The whole company, she's working more than anybody.
Yeah.
So Mirta,
that's Doug's wife.
That's Mirta.
Mirta and Doug are the owners. Yeah. It's incredible how much more I've learned about business in the few years I've been with them. Like I learned a lot with my mom, but the one thing that I can say about the ownership of Relief is with Doug, like you can go to him with any situation, any experience, any scenario, and he will give you a perspective that you didn't think about or didn't consider before. I've never met someone who actually has the answers to your questions. It doesn't really, like I said, it doesn't matter what it is. He's one of those people who's lived enough life that he has the answer some way, somehow, or he's going to give you a perspective that will lead you to your answer. He's the incredible humans that I work for. Incredible people.
So you got something?
No, I did.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got other
Eastside is like, I need to do a podcast in your lounge over there.
He's like, oh, you're talking about what? Oh, okay.
Know the history of why marijuana became
illegal? Oh yeah, very much so. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Well, he's still one of my questions, bro.
Well, I brought up that video, grass is greener, but nobody knows about the grass is greener.
In the 30s and before then, it was definitely racially motivated for sure. Marijuana was very closely associated with the Mexican population in America. And a man by the name of Henry Anslinger is very much responsible for the passing of, banning cannabis on the federal level and just getting rid of hemp too and everything. So it was very much a racially motivated thing, why it became illegal in the first place. There's actually, there's been several studies that have been done. I believe it was under the Nixon Association. I think it's called the Schaefer Report. Don't quote me on that, but they did a federal study, and just like Pineapple Express, the Item 9 study, they did that. They actually have done that. And they determined that cannabis was safe, harmless, for the most part harmless, and should be taxed and regulated. And they quite literally took the report and threw it away and started the war on drugs.
Yeah.
But it definitely was a racially motivated passing to make it illegal for sure. Like I said, Henry Anslinger in 1937 that was the catalyst of it really. But
and it didn't also help when backing up, fast forward to like the 50s, 60s, the 60s, everybody, the stereotypical hippie, peace, love, all the men and women.
It did not fit the norm of American society at the time.
It was demonized so much.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's when the war on drugs really played into that part of American socioeconomics. So they took and ran with it for the next 40 years.
Yeah.
And I know that, don't quote me on this because this is coming from Joe Rogan because I listen to him a lot.
Factual information.
But factual, coming from the great philosopher Joseph Rogan.
That's right.
But he talked about when like hemp used to be like one of the biggest, products of the United States for the longest time. And
100%.
then William Randolph Hearst, like he owned all these paper mills and stuff. And he wanted to switch everything. Like I think it was paper. And so he had so much power, and he was just like, hey, we can't use hemp for everything anymore. We need to use paper, or 100%. I think it was paper. I forgot what it was. And so they stopped using hemp. Mm-hmm. And that was another big catalyst of just like, hey, hemp, drugs are bad.
They work together. Mm-hmm. They did. That's true. Very true. Hemp was, if you look at even like the Civil War, even the Revolutionary War, hemp rope and hemp products, like that was used in sales. Yeah. Hemp has been used, and cannabis fibers have been used for millennia. Mm-hmm. We have traces of cannabis woven baskets from ancient Egyptians. China. Exactly, 100%. And part of that too is like with hemp, especially because there was a time in Missouri where if you had land, you had to grow hemp in your off crop. When you're moving crops, you had to grow hemp because it actually cleans the soil. Mm-hmm. It's a super cleaner. It just pulls all the bad stuff out of the soil and cleans it for your next crop.
So it's like the root system survives on the bad things in the soil, and then it kind of filters it out for the next year's crop.
The soil, exactly. But part of like why humans are so intertwined with cannabis too is we have a regulatory system in our body called the endocannabinoid system. Just like you have your respiratory system, you have your central nervous system. We have a regulatory system that is specifically meant for cannabis ingestion.
What?
Yeah, you don't learn about that in school.
No,
it's
sure
very
don't.
true.
And that's starting to be where you're talking about like the terpenes, and is that when you all break down?
The terpenes and cannabinoids play a part in your endocannabinoid system, 100%.
Is that where your tolerance comes from? I think like mine's very small.
Tiny,
so basically throughout your body,
it's
in all over your body, but throughout your body, there's several receptors called CB1 and CB2 receptors, and that's where like THC and CBD and other cannabinoids, they bind to these receptors, and that's what causes the high. What happens is more or less when these receptors are activated, more or less it tells your cells to kind of slow down their function, which is the high that you're physically experiencing, which is another reason why if you've ever seen cannabis has been a great component for combating cancer.
Yes,
a lot of that is because, by definition, a cancer cell is just a cell that just is an overactive.
It's abnormal growth of cells.
Yeah, it's just continuing. It's not stopping. It's just going, right? When you take cannabis and activate those CB receptors, it tells the cell to slow down and actually gives your white blood cells a chance to come and fight it.
So is that a good reason why they mix, like they have a CBD and THC
100%.
context?
You get the two of those two cannabinoids, they work better together. Cannabinoids work better together than they do on their own. So like when we get people that come in, and it's very common, they just want the most potent product they can get. They want that highest THC.
Right.
And part of the education process is getting people to understand that it's more than just that. There's hundreds of thousands of compounds in that plant, and if you focus on just that single one compound, albeit the most popular, but that one single compound can only do so much for you.
Yeah,
the other medicinal value comes from the rest of the plant.
I used to always believe that higher THC was better, and then until I came there, and then I was like smoking something that had like a 40 50% or whatever, and then you have a bunch of CBD mixed in it, and it really made
entourage effect.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. So what's the difference between CBD and THC?
So I like to describe it as cannabis is more of like the umbrella term for the species. You have cannabis that produces marijuana, and you have cannabis that's hemp. Marijuana is high THC and low CBD. Hemp is high CBD, low THC. So they're actually the same plant. Yeah. The only difference between hemp and marijuana is the chemotype or the chemical makeup of the plant. But they're the same species. So the difference really, to the naked eye, it can be very hard to tell. It's the same plant. It's just like your brother and your sister. You guys come from the same parent. You guys are the same species, but it's just you're even if you're twins, you have different DNA.
Yeah, I feel like marijuana or just even THC, everything that's under that umbrella has taken such a leap from hell. When I was in high school, like early 2000s, like you picture like, all right, a weed smoker, stoner, skater, all that stuff now.
Long hair. Hasn't showered in 3 days.
Yep. And now it's just like, now we have you where you sound like a doctor on here.
As it becomes more normal, people are able to find their own research and do their own studying on it and find their own experiences with cannabis.
So do you feel like that's now the culture now in
100%.
THC and marijuana? Because I feel like it's not as demonized as it used to be.
Definitely not. No, I would say a lot of today's, stereotypical stoners are very much, brainiacs of the plant too, and of the genetics and the potencies and things like that. Like I said, people still come in, they're like, I want this strain right here. Because they know they've had their experience with it, and they become brainiacs of their own. It's a lot more normal now.
When I picked up something I do here, whenever somebody's smoking a new cigar, I always recommend to them journal, document. Put that
absolutely.
little band on there, write your notes, and I learned that from Relief. I learned that from people doing that. You
100%.
guys telling me that.
We used to do that little you'd
journal
write entry.
I loved that. I was like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. You write down how it made you feel, your body.
Cigar, you write down when you sparked it, how you cut it, when did it go out, how many times you have to relight it. There's lots of notes you can take that can help add to your nuance and your experience of it. That's not with, like I said, coffee, tobacco, like really any chocolate, any nuance item, you can do that.
So where do you feel like the industry's going from here?
It's very tricky to say. Right now, Missouri, at least, we're going on the uphill. We're still a new enough market that we haven't hit our, full maturity. Whereas you look at markets like California and Colorado that have been legal for, a 12.5 years now, they've seen their market mature, and we're still kind of pre-pubescent. We're getting into that puberty range of our market. We're starting to mature more, and I think that with that, we're only going to grow. We're already becoming one of the biggest markets in the entire world, and part of that is our legislation. We do have not anyone can just get a license and open up shop. We do have capped licensures, so they control the license on the market, which allows us to not see the bottom. For example, it's not a race to the bottom as far as pricing goes. You can go to some states like Oregon and pounds are going for as little as a couple $100. Whereas it's just their legislation. They have so many. The market's just oversaturated with suppliers. Whereas when the state can kind of regulate, control the supply, you can control the demand.
So it sounds like it's almost better for it to be so much regulated, but there to be some regulation.
Absolutely, there has to be regulation in cannabis for it to succeed. It has to be. And I'm honestly, this is very controversial, but I am a proponent of the closed licensure. I'm a big proponent of it because, like I said, that keeps our industry afloat.
Now, what is that? The closed licensure?
Meaning you can't just go.
Oh,
open
anybody
up a shop.
just
you can't just go open up a shop. The state controls how many licenses are available. That's the closed licensure. Whereas, for example, in Oklahoma, you can just go apply. Anybody can just go apply, and
shit.
Yeah, but with the closed licensure, like I said, it keeps our market afloat.
Yeah.
And then when you throw in trade groups like MoCan Trade, for example, they're a big lobby group that. Almost every single license is a part of it. We're basically like a conglomerate that we're holding pricing at this point. We're not going below this value of our products. The sooner we go to the bottom, the more money we're going to lose faster. And once you get to the bottom, that's when you're done. That's when companies start going under. That's when you start seeing mega corporate cannabis coming in and buying them out.
And that's what I was going to ask too, because in the cigar industry, there's a ton of mom and pop stores like this, homegrown, a lot of places like, lounges, cigar lounges and stuff. But then there are like your big boys, like it's called Cigars International. So they're like your mega corporate like lounge that comes in and they kind of go into a bigger city and it's like Walmart. They put all your mom and pop stores out of business. Is there anything like that in?
It's funny you even say the company Walmart. It's funny you mentioned that company. But yes, that is absolutely happening. I know a specific
Walmart
company Walmart does hundreds of millions of dollars into Missouri's to buying out licenses.
Really?
There's one company that owns a good 30% of all available licenses. In Missouri. There's definitely mega cannabis is already here.
Is it like? Are they here yet? Or have they have a storefront?
Oh yeah.
Well, let me get. I was going to say there's like two big companies. One was into a tasty beverage that everybody likes drinking, alcohol wise. Didn't he get into
they're still in
St. Louis?
Yeah, they're still in.
And then the Walmart. Well, I didn't know about saying names. That's why Anheuser-Busch.
The big names. Yeah, Busch is in. He's great. That's Teal. They're a great company. Big fan of them. They're still kind of mom and pop one. It's just like they're standalone still. But there are companies that have come in for sure. There's really 4 big players right now. I'll say the company names. Good Day Farms. They're one of the biggest companies in the entire state. They're the ones they own.
Are they the
30% of all active licenses right now?
Are they like the Walmart of?
Yeah, they're out of Arkansas. Yep.
Gotcha.
Greenlight, they're another one out of Arkansas. They're a very big one. They have a huge chunk of dispensary licenses. Proper now has a lot. Has a lot of licenses now.
Yeah.
And Elevate. You remember?
I do remember Elevate when they first started. Yeah, yeah.
They now have a good chunk of the licenses now. So we're already seeing a lot of the Missouri groups are kind of closing in, and I don't want to say sealing out the market of that, mega corporate side, but we're building kind of. There's companies that are building to be mega corporate here in Missouri.
One thing I like about it is in Teal. It's Teal, right?
Yeah, Teal. That's
and it was from the grandson of Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, Adolphus.
They had all this land, and he decided to grow on it, or
it's actually a federal. It's like a duck sanctuary, actually.
Oh, right
the
on.
land that they're operating on, it's like a federal duck sanctuary. Yeah, protects teal.
See, I think that's great.
I'm a huge fan of them. Like I said, Bush, he's a great guy. He's a smart guy. He knows what he's doing. And they're not.
And they're Missouri people.
He's Missouri people, and he's just a standalone company.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have multiple licensors to go.
So that's what I was going to ask too. It's like someone like the bigger corporations, like how are they able to buy so many licenses?
Money talks.
I guess so.
Yeah. Once the license has been issued, I mean, it's just like a car. If I like your car and I'm like, hey, I want to buy your car, here's an extra $100,000 over what it's worth.
Yeah.
And you've already built a reputation with them.
exactly.
So,
I just didn't think that. I mean, I guess like you're right, money talks, but I would just assume that a company can only just get one license.
No. You can just
open up if you have 30 licenses.
There is a limit. Like, for example, I know like Good Day Farms, they kind of maxed out. I don't know the exact number. I want to say it's like 16 to 30. It's something in that range. But like Good Day Farms, for example, they ran out of their license, like the number for Good Day Farms. So they have their other licenseship now goes under the brand of Codes. So like what they couldn't fill when they maxed out their Good Day, allotment, their name, then they moved to the Codes. It's the same brand, but it's just a different name. But it's technically a different company, but it's under an umbrella, so it still works. But it happens. Yeah, we have vertically integrated operations all over, which means they have cultivation, manufacturing, and the dispensary, so they can do everything in house. There's lots of those. We're not one of those right now. We're just the dispensary, which is kind of gives us a little bit of a sweet spot, because when you get the dispensaries that are attached to their specific brand of, flower or product, whatever it is, a lot of customers might not like that specific product or brand. And now that you've associated your storefront with it, you've kind of tainted the rest of your store, the other products that you carry. Whereas a company like mine, we don't have anyone to answer to, so we carry dozens and dozens of brands, and we have great relationships with dozens and dozens of companies. So it's really kind of put us in a sweet spot, not being on that corporate side.
Relief is one of the handfuls, if not one of the only, maybe left mom and pop shop. Did they?
I can probably.
Because I remember a lot of people came up to them, and I remember when I was there, people wanting to buy them all the time.
In the state of Missouri, I can probably think of 3 or 4 stores like mine.
They're locally owned.
Yeah. I'll give a shout out here in Kansas City, Riverside Wellness. They're another one of the locally owned ones.
Yep.
In Kansas City, though, because we're Riverside and us, we're both single licenses, so it's just our single store and that's it. But we're all both locally owned. But there's very few companies with that kind of a structure right now. Right.
I love that structure.
Yeah, I love it, dude. It's like I said, it definitely appeals more to the community and the public and the people.
Yeah.
Versus going to a Walmart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we'll end on this one. What's next for Mitch?
Next is first I want to get my farms going now. We're going to be getting greenhouses built out, and next I want to get my products out on the market sooner than later. That's next, and then with Relief, we're expanding. We will be getting another store and getting that store open.
How many stores do you guys have now?
Right now it's just one.
Just one?
Yeah, but we will be getting another one sooner than later. It's just, again, that's more regulations and politics and dealings and whatnot, but getting that second store open for Relief and getting my my products out to market that's what's next for me right now.
Yeah. So it sounds like you don't regret that transition and change.
Not at all. No, not at all. No, I love, still being a part of the family business and whatnot, but it was never my passion. And I've been lucky and gracious enough to make my passion. It's like what's that song? I don't work. I'm on vacation because I love my occupation.
Yeah.
Every day it's a good day. It's hard to have a bad day at the dispensary. It really is.
Well, you have a great place to be working. I know that they adore you, and they do. They're good people.
Yeah,
that whole place is
absolutely
good people. And everybody that works in that place. I don't know. I have a question if you're all right with that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Your time. Okay, vapes. All right, and I hope this doesn't bring too long into it. But vapes, a lot of people are like mostly the older generation, the ones that are always worried about the vapes. Are afraid of the health that they're doing. The bad that the vapes are doing. What's the difference between a THC vape and going and getting it at a store like a Delta 8 or what's differences in the vape pens?
So the vapes, the differences are going to be the different types of oils that are in the actual vape itself. So you have your distillate oil, which is just like distilled THC. So it's going to be a higher potency of THC, but it's mainly just that compound. Generally, you'll find distillate vapes are going to be like fruity flavored or like artificially flavored. And then you have like your resins and rosins, which are just the natural oils that come from the plant that are extracted.
Yeah.
Those ones are going to be a little bit more on the true to spectrum or true to plant.
So the unhealthiest part is when people use the wrong propellant.
Well,
the wrong stuff to...
If you're talking about like the Delta 8 versus THC, yeah, it's definitely going to be the oil that's inside of it. But if you're talking about like, for example, the difference between like the health benefits between vaping and smoking a joint, like for example, a joint, the ember is burning at about 2,200 degrees. Whereas a vape, that vapor is never more than 500 degrees at most, kind of a thing. So it's a lot healthier for your lungs to inhale a vape than it is to inhale combusted product.
Because it has carcinogenics in it?
Correct,
or
not to say that
particles.
smoking anything is healthy, but it's a lot healthier to vape than to combust.
Right on.
Yeah.
And difference between rosin and resin?
Rosin and resin, that's my favorite explanation, is fresh squeezed orange juice versus store-bought orange juice. With resin, you have to use a solvent like butane. It's chemical extraction versus mechanical extraction. When you use resins, you're using a solvent like butane to blast the THC and the cannabinoids off of the flower. Where with rosin, you are separating it mechanically. So you're literally just taking the glands on the plant, removing the glands, and then heat and pressure, you squeeze the flower, and that's the natural oil that comes out.
And so that's actually, honestly, that's probably healthier.
It is, 100%.
So that's the 100%. Healthiest part. Like if I was to go...
That's the cleanest version of cannabis oil is rosin.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to go into a dispensary, I want the healthiest vape pen you got that maybe would be best for me.
We're going to steer towards some solventless.
It would be solventless.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, because I know when I was in law enforcement, vape pens were a bad thing, well, not all of them, but it tainted the people's views 100%. Of it because you would be getting them at a dollar gas store,
right? And
no telling what you were smoking. Next thing you know, you got some bad issues going on.
That's that unregulated part of it.
Yeah, and so I think the ignorance and the fear of that is not allowing people to really get in there and learn and educate themselves of the value of, and the benefit that that's going to do to your body.
No, you're totally right.
So I like that. I was just curious about the vape and the
vapes are they're definitely one of the bigger categories in cannabis sales for sure. Flower's still king. Flower still accounts for at least 50% of all cannabis sales in Missouri.
Right on.
Flower's still king. Honestly, I don't see it changing for a while.
Yeah,
a lot of people are just. I mean, it's that tried and true way.
I agree. I think that's can always be there because it's the ritual.
Yeah,
it's part of smoking a cigar. There's steps and
it's more
the
social
process.
Too, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing. There's something to smoking it out of like a bong or a pipe than just I think that's a ritual thing. It's very symbolic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Opinion.
You're totally right.
You had to just go disappear to fill up a lighter. I said.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's all good.
We're always working in here. It doesn't matter if you're on a podcast.
Yeah. So we're going to end this.
Yeah.
Man, it's been great.
Thank you guys for having me. This has been awesome.
I have learned so much.
That's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Man.
I'm glad that I have a expert in the field that's a sommelier too.
Yeah.
That I can refer to. So any shout outs that you want to
I mean, I'm always going to shout out Relief. That's home. That's the best dispensary in the state of Missouri.
I'm tracking with you.
We offer discounts that you wouldn't believe. We offer products that you wouldn't believe. And just, again, it goes back to the people that I have, like, in that store. My staff is the engine behind it. They are all stars through and through. So I'm always going to shout out home, which is Relief.
What's the address?
13836 South US Highway 71.
I got it on my shirt.
Yeah, right there in Grandview off 140th Street.
Like
we are the
you're
only
arching your back there, buddy.
we are the only 24-hour drive-through in the entire state.
That's
our drive. We don't close. Our drive-through is open 24 hours. We have extended lobby hours, so we're open until at least 11 to midnight every single night.
You guys have some hella parties too, like the Flower Fest, right?
Yeah,
you do
every year we do big 420
710
events.
Fest.
Every year we try to do some big events, and we're always doing something bigger, badder, and better the next year.
Yeah.
Definitely follow them because they have a
our
lot
social
of good
media,
shows.
like our Instagram.
And Mo,
shout out to Mo, who's
him,
running our marketing and media. He's the best social media in Missouri cannabis right now. Like our reels they're personable, they're funny, they give you an insight to who we are as people versus the product that we're selling. You know,
I love them. I watch every one of them when they post. I don't recognize half of them. I'm just meeting some of the new ones, but man, you got a lot of good staff in there.
I mean, when you left, I think we had like maybe 12 people on staff. Man, I got over 40 now.
Jeez.
Yeah,
Man,
it's crazy. We
that's
are really
impressive.
growing.
Very good. Very good.
But, let me ask you guys. Let's end on a question from me. What's next for the shop? Because I love this place. This is the cigar spot in Kansas City.
Well, I appreciate that, man. What's next here? I just want to keep the momentum going, and I want this place to be. And I've always said this especially when I open this up. Like, I want this place to be one of the attractions for Kansas City.
Yeah,
like when you come to Kansas City, there's 4 or 5 places you got to go. I want to be on that list of places you want to go.
Definitely.
Not only are we like a cigar lounge, we're more than that. We're like a venue. We're
absolutely are
destination place to go to.
Like I was telling you guys before we started, I have people on my social medias that are just completely random, and I'm like, they're at the shop. Like, I know those guys. They're at, there's like. You guys are, like I said, you are the cigar spot.
Well, I appreciate that, man.
That's cool.
I love it. I love it here. I love coming and hanging out.
I couldn't do it without this guy over here.
That's right. That's right. He's a workhorse. I'll tell you what. This guy.
He makes me. Otherwise, that's how I pay my bills. I guarantee you, the second he's done with this, he's going to say, all right, Dave, go back downstairs. Because the VIP lounge, no, it is true. The VIP lounge isn't done.
I better start hearing some hammer and some saws.
Yeah. I don't see money until half of it's done.
I love it. No,
well, Mitch, I appreciate you being on, man. It's been great. Yeah. Like I said, this has been fun learning experience for me, and hopefully everybody else out there.
Yeah,
hopefully we can get a pass in Kansas
at least
soon.
Raise some questions for you to come find out the answers to at the store. You know,
and then go visit Relief.
Yeah, for sure, guys.
Resources.
Only 24-hour store.
And I wish you nothing but the best on your new venture.
I appreciate it. I really do. Let's do this again, guys.
Yeah, let's do it again. Especially when you get the second deal.
We got approved to build out today, like literally an hour ago. So we start building out tomorrow, actually, with concrete coming in and greenhouses.
Maybe we can get this podcast out there
unopposed.
Welcome anytime. Hey, maybe we can have like 100% have like a little shop cigar lounge tied in there with you.
Shoot.
That'd be
well, appreciate it. Thank you guys for tuning in. And I'll catch you next time.
Like, subscribe, and follow Strawberry Hill Podcast.
Yeah, always do that.
Goodbye,
everybody.